Hi folks, welcome to LUXORliving, latest news 2022, applications and functions, broadcasted from Theben Pixel Studios here in the headquarters in Haigerloch. My name, Alefla, Head of Technical Support and Training. And I hope you will have some interesting insights in the next heading, approximately 35 minutes. So what's smart? What is the definition of smart or smartness? However, is it a smart app? Are they the smart appliances? Is it the smart software to integrate the program? Is it the smart programmer, however? Or is it finally the smart interaction of the devices, of the appliances which are using in such a comfortable building like here in the background? LUXORliving smart home solution is smart. And I want to make you acquainted with what are the abilities finally of LUXORliving finally are. LUXORliving is KNX based. So that means the communication among the devices is KNX communication. We take the transportation layer KNX to communicate, to share data. The level of the KNX communication is same. The applications are different to the KNX products in Theben product range. But reliable and future-proofed. Reliable hardware we do have because we take the really long-proofed KNX hardware, and we take this as well in our LUXORliving products. Sure, why not? We do support voice control, so that means especially for older people, for handicapped people, or just to have a certain comfort, we can control our building, our smart home via voice. And we do support as well cloud communication, so that means wherever you are around the world, on business trip, on a holiday trip, whatever, anytime you have access to your building and you know what's up in your building at home. And finally, LUXORliving is comfort. Easy to configure, simple to configure, less time is required to do the programming, and this you will learn more about in the next video, next recording which we are offering. And LUXORliving is excellence in comfortability, comfort, functionality, and so on. You need just a little effort of wiring. You need just 2 cables to connect to the devices finally. It is future-proofed because of, let's say, this communication which we are using. Future-proofed because you can anytime extend it or update it. And with this communication in the background, anytime in the future, you can link to, let's say, intelligent energy management with a smart home solution, LUXORliving. LUXORliving can be controlled by iOS appliances, by Android appliances, or as well, laptops. Anytime you are in the picture, what is ongoing in your building, and you have anytime the control point to operate your building remotely. Visualization for your mobile you get for free. It's just 1 mouse click and the visualization is done. So there is no any, let's say, needs to waste hours to create pictures, to create pages, finally later on to control as a visualization. It's just a mouse click, and then the visualization is automatically done by LUXORliving. This is smartness, isn't it? You can customize the system as well, can give or take rights for your family members, so probably that the children which are growing up, so at the age of 10 or such, however, does not have the full access to your system, that they can't operate with their probably mobile all the functions in the building. They have just a limitation to control, to manage the functions in their home, in their room finally. This you can do. Or if you are using LUXORliving in industrial building or in a building like that, however. So you can give some of your employees the rights to operate, let's say, the meeting room or however. You can give specific people specific rights. All in all, the programming in LUXORliving to program the devices and so on is, I would like to say, it is intuitively to program. Even if you want to do some modifications here on your mobile, you can as well. This is intuitively as well. So we keep it simple. So the principal KISS we fulfill. Yeah, better safe than sorry. So that means for us, Theben, it is highest priority to be safe. Safe in terms of hardware, safe in terms of communication. And we gave the LUXORliving system hardware as well as the software to the VDE laboratories in order to do the testing in regards of safety. Hardware safety, sure, it's mandatory for Theben, but especially when it comes to the communication, when it comes to the app and so on. So we want to be safe and we want to give these safe products to you so that you can be finally safe in operation and in usage of the smart home LUXORliving. But it's not all, I tell you. So basically, when it comes to the light control, probably you get questions, desires, demands from the end user. So is smart home LUXORliving able to support light control, dimming control? If LUXORliving is good enough to dim LED lights, for instance, here you find the reasonable answers. Light switching, no problem at all. To give impulse functions, for instance, with LUXORliving in order to open your garage door or to control lights according to the brightness or according to a time frame. You can adjust or set a specific dimming value according to a specific, let's say, percentage value. Yeah, you want to have at a specific time a specific dimming value. Okay, you can. Yeah, this is an answer which you can give to the end user finally. Yeah, in terms of, let's say, panic. Yeah, so probably during the nighttime, so he probably is on business trip, she is alone, and some unusual noises are around the building during the nighttime. So you're just with a clash on a push button, on the panic push button, all the lights are popping up, are switching on, and probably, so this gives, not probably, this gives a certain part of, let's say, safety feeling finally, and probably these, not most welcome people are chasing away in their terms. So panic, it is, I think, really a treasure. It is a good function which we need, or probably leaving home. So don't forget, just when you leave the home, clash on one push button and all the lights are off. Probably the oven in the kitchen is even switched off as well, so you have not to care about anything. So this you can do, and like mentioned, you can do it remotely as well with cloud communication. Anytime you have access, you can check up. So what is ongoing? Did I have forgotten to switch off some lights off? However, you can do anytime. You can do as well all these functions, switching dimming or several lights points. However, you can group it together. So that means with one push button, you can off several amount of lights. Nevertheless, if we talk about dimming or switching, however, you can do this individual grouping, sure. Yeah, but this is just light control. When it comes to shading control, so then you expect protection with blinds, like here, for instance, which give, let's say, a certain protection of the sun so that the inside is not heated up so tremendously. You get a certain protection against the glaring from the sunlight, however. You can position it due to a certain brightness level, then the slats are lowering, positioning, however. Accordingly, you can give them a time frame, so at a specific time it shall lower during the night times, for instance, to keep your privacy, closing totally the blinds. This you can do. Grouping as well, so if you have several different, let's say, blinds in your large living room, however, So you can link these all together on one push button, and with one push button you can lower or you can rise the blinds in the entire room or even in the entire building. However, it's a matter of programming, but you can. And I think this is a good answer and a good solution if your end user, your client, is asking for. For, let's say, multiple homes. So that means if you have an apartment and you have a tower which includes 20 apartments or so. So we do need just one weather station, which you discover here. And each apartment has his own sensor, and each family can control his blinds how they like it. Yeah. But from the appearance, from the outside, you do have just one of these weather stations in the visible part of the facade of the building. However, anytime, by the way, so anytime, all of our actuators is giving you the option, giving you the space that you can operate manually. If power is applied, 230 volt, so then you can operate manually anytime, even in case if the programming is not finished yet, or probably you have some disconnection in the bus communication. However, you are not lost in space. You have the option from the DB board, from the distribution board, anytime you can operate manually. I think a good answer. And by the way, you can implement light and shading, for instance, into a scene. Together, this scene you can define on your own. But it's not all. Again, you find here, you discover here another function set, which is climatizing. Climatizing means heating or cooling. If you do have the reasonable system in your building, sure. You can control according to the temperature. Sure, this is RTR, room temperature control. And you can control according to time to set a specific temperature at a specific time. You can do a limitation finally, so that from the setting, unauthorized people can just reach a specific temperature point finally, but not above. This you can limit in the background with the software. However, we can integrate window detection, so when a window is widely opened, so that, for instance, the valve or the heating stops, not wasting the energy through the open windows. When the window is closed again, so then the heating starts again. So such things like that. You can do the zoning, so that means if you have a large, let's say, meeting room or such, and you do have different, let's say, zones of your heatings to the radiators or underfloor heating, however. So you can group them as well, and just one RTR, room temperature controller, is managing the different zones. This you can do as well. So sounds good, huh? But it's not all. So furthermore, like mentioned, voice control. We have the reasonable skills for Alexa or for Google Assistant to support that you can manage your building via voice. Blinds, windows, rise, or lights, go to sleep, because I go to sleep now. However, it's a matter of, let's say, definition, and you can manage it. Cloud access. Theben is managing his own cloud here in Germany, so we support you with such. So wherever you are, you have access remotely and can manage, see what is ongoing in your building. We can integrate, for instance, as well. So let's say cameras. So if you have installed some cameras in your home, just remotely you can have a look what is ongoing in your home or around your home, however. It's an advantage if you have this cloud service. But if you don't have cloud service, which you can order from us, so you can anytime have access via VPN. The setup has just to be done once, and then deal is done. Integration of smoke detectors, no problem. If you have the right one, you can do. We discovered one in the market which is rather good and which fits ideal to our system, which is EI electronics. And EI electronics does have two gates, input, output. So that means in the unlikely event that the smoke detector discovers smoke, So then actively a trigger is given, and this is important for us, not just the voice, the voice signal. We need just a contact, a trigger, and we use this trigger to integrate it into LUXORliving, and we can start, for instance, caused by a smoke detector, the panic function. So all the lights are going on, switching on. And for instance, the blinds are rising so that we do have access to the outside, however, or vice versa. We do have, for instance, during the nighttime, these audible noises. Some unauthorized people are strolling around our homes. A glass is broken or whatever. So anytime when you clash on the panic button, so then you get an audible assistance from the smoke detector. So that means you get this really noisy sound, which assists you as well, lights on and noise. So in general, so these unauthorized people are chasing away because discovered. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, and I think an important part plays as well she. You know, she is the decision maker in many times. So when it comes to the push button, to the push button design in such kind of a smart home building, we do have different options. You can use the typical LUXORliving push buttons, which are rather nice eye candies, or as well you can integrate any type of push buttons which you can get in the market. Yeah, we have both choices. You are not sticking to our push button design. You can integrate any others. However, anytime, because I talked or mentioned, the system LUXORliving is future-proofed. So you heard that LUXORliving appliances or devices are communicating based on the KNX layer. And due to that, anytime, if you extend your building, probably industrial building or office or whatever, and you want to extend and you reach a certain limit of LUXORliving, then you can convert the project into a real KNX project. So that means the hardware you can relieve, you take the ETS, do start up a new programming, and you can integrate all the functions into a full KNX project, future-proofed. Visualization, like mentioned, yes, for free. Remote access on with specific devices. So, for example, your children are growing up and get older, however, and you want to extend your buildings, or for instance under the roof to do some refurbishing, however. But there, unfortunately, you don't have any, let's say, cabling. So not cabling in terms of 230, but probably cabling of the bus. And then we do have the option that here you discover this is RF gateway. The RF gateway has to be connected to the wire of the bus, but from that point we transmit or we receive the communication via RF. And we do have RF components, so just like that here. So there is no bus communication at all. This appliance here, as an example, just receives via RF the reasonable command, so we can integrate your, let's say, upgrade in your building into the smart home solution system. We support here switching, dimming, shading, climatizing, however, anytime possible. And by the way, secure communication. So that means all the communication, sending or receiving any kind of commands, they can be set to be encrypted, secure. Theben is secure. Bottom links. So that means we can integrate, for instance, any kind of cameras. As well, we can integrate links to your email account, to your favorite web page, for instance. So door is widely open. Password protection that unauthorized people can't have access. So probably you're losing your mobile somewhere, however, without any password to your system, unauthorized people can't, let's say, manage or can't create some Ghostbuster function in your private home. The IP1, so what's that? Can be updated. So IP1 is finally the communication link. It's a product like that, which has to be linked to your router, and from your router you have anytime access to your mobile or whatever. Yeah, but this we need to program, and you will hear later on a little bit more about, so what are the functionalities, and all the functionalities you can update here in the RP1. Diagnostics tools, so this is more for the professionals, so that means so a kind of a monitor which tells you so what control commands are sent, transmitted or received. However, you can check if everything is fine. It's not focused or not, let's say, designed for the end users, but it's designed for the professional, let's say, electrician. In the unlikely event that probably, I did the programming, I go for retirement, however, and lazy like I am, forgotten to hand over the project to my client. And the client is calling a few years later, another electrician, asking him, so can you do some upgrades or some updates in my project? I want to extend or whatever. So, and unfortunately, due to my fault, because I haven't handed over this project. So anytime the electrician can have access to the system and read fully out the entire programming, including the naming. The only thing what is required is finally the password to the system. And this password the end user, the client, should have. But then you have full access to everything. And that means finally easy and future-proofed solution for the end user. And last but not least, in the unlikely event that some of these devices are destroyed, probably by a short circuit, by a light strike or whatever, and the electrician has to replace a device, so like this RF solution or whatever. So then we do have an easy replacement. So that means we just hardware siding, we do replace the defective one to a new one. We do the scan again in the software, and the software is telling you, okay, I discovered a new one. This is highlighted in red, and you have just by drag and drop to add it to your project, and all the application settings and all the links finally are automatically given to the new appliance, and deal is done. Probably you may ask now, but how powerful finally, not in terms of application, but how powerful in terms of the functions, how many switching points I do have, how many dimming points I do have, and so on. So all in all, you see here on top, we talk about 64 devices hardwired. So that means actuators like here or push buttons like here. So all in all, 64 devices plus 64 additional RF devices. So devices like that, which are just communicating based on RF. Probably you might say, oh, only 64 devices? I will give you a reasonable answer for that. So just imagine, so this one is a 16-volt switching actuator. So that means you can control individually 16 different lights, motors, fans, whatever. This is one of these 64 twisted pair devices. So you can imagine there is a lot to do, and you can really create a huge program with Smart Home, LUXORliving. Or, for instance, this push button, this RTR push button, this is giving you 8 different functions. You discover just 2 of these, let's say, switching points, but all in all, because you can manage this controller here left and right, you can choose the different function, on, off, up, down, dimming up, dimming down, or just asking for different values, whatever. So here you do have 8 functions with just one single appliance. So you discover now, okay, there is much more of functionalities like in the first moment probably you expect. Yeah, I think it's a good answer. So, and well, what does it mean to the wiring? Do you have to, respect? Do you have to care about some? All in all, you can wire in a line line connections. You just loop the cable through from one device to the next. You can, let's say, wire it in stars like we do have here, or in tree, for instance. The only thing, the only kind of wiring which is not allowed, which is not permitted, is finally the ring, the token ring. So like in the IT technology, or like in KNX, or in other, let's say, bus-based systems, token ring, no go. That's the only thing what has to be respected finally in this, in this system. Yeah, I want to make you now a little bit acquainted about the products, a little bit more deeper. So first of all, we need a power supply. Yeah, 640. So you had heard one slide before, 64 devices. Okay, 640 milliamps. Yeah, so that means each of the products which you can applicate, which you can wire, finally is permitted to consume 10 milliamps from the bus. The bus is itself, its self voltage is approximately 29 volt DC. Then we do have here the IP1. The IP1 here from the bottom side, we do have here the link to the router, yeah, on top here. We do have here the bus communication to the appliances finally. And what we do have here additionally, we do have first of all to get the permission or to get the chance to program. You have just to link it finally, the IP1, to link it to the router. In the router probably could be an IP camera linked, and from here you go to, or you're connected to the world, to the World Wide Web, however. So, and via the router you get finally the access to your mobile, to remote access. Yeah, then we do have here our really nice push buttons, so smart home LUXORliving push buttons. Really eye candies, aren't they? So 2-fold, 4-fold, and here in this case, in total 10-fold. I talk about 8, but there is RTR on plus function inside, and cooling and heating. So that means all in all we do have here 10 different functions which we are supporting. Yeah. Or in the event that probably your woman, your wife, is deciding, oh, probably it's not my favorite, I want to have exactly this design here. So anytime with the assistance of this push button interface, we can integrate any type of push buttons into the LUXORliving system. There is a specific, let's say, limitation in terms of the distance from a push button to this push button interface. So there's a limitation or a distance of approximately 15 meters maximum, yeah, and not more. And so this gives you the space. This gives you the option finally to integrate whatever you like. Design is not limited, you decide. Yeah, and by the way, so why we discover this one here, this is a temperature probe. And this temperature probe we can implement as well with such kind of push button interface. So if you want to hide a temperature sensor, not temperature controller, temperature sensor, anytime you can integrate such kind of temperature probe with the assistance of this push button interface into the system. And this temperature probe you can stick behind a cover, a flap or whatever, and from this point the temperature is measured and shared with a reasonable, let's say, actuator. Yeah, I think good answers, good options finally, which we offer to you. Then we do have here the option with a binary input, as an example, to integrate here a smoke detector, or to integrate here a window contact, or to integrate, for instance, a motion detector. So binary inputs are, let's say, applications and options where you can integrate almost everything. Yeah. If not talking smart home, LUXORliving or KNX. Yeah, let's have a few insights in terms of the actuators. We offer in total 3 DIN-rail based switching actuators, 4, 8 and 16 volt. Each of these, let's say, relays, which we have chosen here for you, is powerful enough to support you with 600 watts of LED per channel. Future-proofed, and you don't have to worry anything. So this is absolutely an actuator, an absolutely powerful actuator, benchmark in the market. And again, be reminded, anytime you have the options here to operate manually, to override manually every channel of this actuator itself. Just be reminded, so why we do have probably just 600, but 600 watts is a benchmark. Yeah, if you take such, let's say, LED light, a filament light, LED based, so if theoretically, so we calculate, so how is the energy consumption? So this is a 6 watt light. So the result of this, let's say, energy consumption is really low, 0.026, so it's rather low, and it's absolutely confirming LEDs are energy saving solutions, yes, why? But in the background, in the first initial setup, they are creating tremendously inrushes, and just one example here. So just this fancy light is creating for short piece of a second approximately 6 amps of inrush. And our actuators are inrush resistant, so that means we do have some technology inside which can deal with it, and this is for you the choice for long-lasting products. Yeah, when you have just the requirement or the need to control a socket or to control a separate lights or standing light, however, and you need just one channel, so you discover here the S1, just as an example. So this is a switching actuator, and this switching actuator is equipped with additional binary inputs. So you probably discover here on that side. So here you can apply, you can link 2 binary inputs. It's a piece of cable which you get delivered inboxed in this packaging here. And so you can integrate as well, so push buttons like here, like discovered here. And this you can get as well as an RF solution as well with binary inputs. And the communication in this case, like mentioned, is via a so-called media coupler. Let's say converting twisted pair communication, so cable-based, to RF communication here as well. Yeah, optimized for the light control. Then when it comes to LED dimming, so we are perfect in LED dimming. Our dimmer, nevertheless, if we talk about the DIN rail-based dimmers, or if we talk about, let's say, the flush-mounted dimmers, so they are perfectly working, acting to LED lights or with the LED lights, if the LED lights are able to be dimmed in a reasonable, good, let's say, way. We can manage a lot, but not all. If we have some limitations in LED technology from the technology inside. So then we probably have to choose a specific setting, but we do have, our application is powerful and we can manage almost everything. I think a good hint for you, dimming is not a big deal for us. Shading control, to drive blinds, Venetian stores or whatever, or roller shutters, however, not a big deal. For flush mounting, not a big deal, we can. Binary inputs, so you can directly link this flush mounted actuator, for instance, to a push button which is next to the motor of the rollers. However, you can group different, let's say, shadings. However, I mentioned, up to you. We do have here the solution, so M140, so that means the weather station. Is it for the standardized, for the single solution? And the M100 and M130, this is then for these multiple homes or multiple flat solutions. So that means, like you discover here, you do have here on top one weather station. We do have, in this example, 6 apartments, and all these 6 apartments are equipped with this M130. And so every family can decide on their own, so when the blinds shall rise or when they shall lower, when the specific threshold, for instance, shall act. However, or when the wind speed is too high, to rise the blinds, to bring them in a, let's say, secure and safe position. Every family have their choice. But from the facade side, you just discover one weather station from the outside. Heating control, sure. Be reminded, so on one channel you can apply 3 of these thermal valves. So it's good enough for single family homes, more than that. Underfloor heating, so you see here this design of these underfloor heating actuators, so we do have this as well. So could be support heating or cooling, or heating and cooling. It depends on the setup of the reasonable channels. You get the same functionality, but as a single actuator here in these flush-mounted solutions. And this is quite a nice solution. You discover here this, let's say, flush-mounted actuator RF, or on that side here, the H1. So these are heating actuators, one channel, and with the assistance of this temperature probe, you can link to the binary input. So that means here there are 2 cables. One of these cables, the input 2, you can apply directly this temperature probe, and you have really the smallest and the fanciest heating actuator on its own with a temperature probe. The temperature setting you do with the app and the temperature you get from the temperature probe. So smart solution, isn't it? Voice control, like mentioned. I think there is nothing to add. On Amazon Alexa or Google Assistant, you find the reasonable, let's say, software which you need, and you get from our side in the app or Play Store the reasonable skills. And then via voice you can address several commands to open blinds, to close the blinds, to call up a scene, or whatever what is needed, whatever what is, let's say, required. We do have here, let's say, a training case. So this is more for the specialists to do some advertisement, to do some promotion. However, this is a training case which is CE approved, which you can buy from us. And if you want to have, let's say, a fancy and really a nice video about a smart home solution, so just click on here, choose this link, and then you will be entertained, most best informed, most best about smart home, LUXORliving, what it is and what are the abilities finally. If you want to have some more insights, so anytime be reminded that on our webpage, on services, you find training courses and recordings, and specifically in training courses and recordings, down on the bottom of this page, you find listed a lot of recordings which we did in the last weeks, months, or years, however. Separated on KNX, separated on smart home, and to diverse, let's say, themes. However, if you need more, don't hesitate to contact us, our staff, our dealing partners in your country. See you next time.